Hello, we are Team 1 and we will present the process of finding and evaluating better grammar. The first step is to determine whether or not a verb phrase exists. Then we test each grammar with a sentence with a conjunction. And finally, we are going to find better grammar on the criteria of simplicity, recourse, and ease of extension.
First, let's talk about equivalent theories in grammar. As Wilhelm von Humboldt said, language must make infinite use of finite means. This idea is closely related to how grammars can generate sentences. Also, different grammars may look very different. They can still generate the exact same sentences. This means that two grammars can be equivalent in terms of the sentences they produce, even if their structures are different. Let's look at two example grammars. Grammar A and Grammar B use the same lexical rules, but their structural rules are different. For example, Grammar A attaches verb directly to the sentence. Grammar B, on the other hand, uses an additional phrase level, VP, to attach verb. Both grammars can generate the same sentence, Homer saw Marge, but the three diagrams look different. Here are more sentences that both grammar can generate. Lisa sleep, Bart crawls, Maggie ran. In each case, Grammar A and Grammar B generate the same sentence but assign different tree diagrams. There are two important definitions. First, weak equivalence. Two theories generate exactly the same set of sentences. Second, strong equivalence. Two theories generate the same set of sentences and also assign the same tree diagrams. In conclusion, previously given Grammar A and Grammar B are weakly equivalent. However, they are not strongly equivalent because they assign different tree structures. This shows that different theories can look very different but still be equivalent in their research.
Next, I will compare two grammar theories. When we evaluate grammars, there are two main criteria: simplicity and ease of extension. Simplicity means how many rules are needed, and ease of extension means how easily we can apply those rules to new sentences. And even before I explain, I guess everyone could see that the rule of Grammar A seems more simple than Grammar B. So when we look at those two proposals in perspective of simplicity, Grammar A uses more than 12 rules and has a flat sentence structure, which makes it look simple. However, Grammar B uses only 3 rules but has a hierarchical structure, so it looks complex. For ease of extension, let's look at this example. Lisa petted SLH and saw Maggie. Grammar A needs many new rules to generate this kind of sentence, more than 12 in total. But Grammar B can use the same 3 rules to cover many new sentences, which makes it much more flexible. To summarize, Grammar A looks simple because of its flat structure, but it actually requires many rules and becomes complex. On the other hand, Grammar B looks more complex with hierarchical structures, but it uses fewer rules and can easily extend to new sentences. Therefore, I guess that Grammar B is both simpler and more powerful theory.
Next, I will compare two grammars, Grammar A and Grammar B, using the example sentence Homer chased Bart. Both grammars generate the same sentence, but they give us different tree structures. First, let's look at Grammar A. Grammar A gives us tree 1, where Homer, chased, and Bart are all equal daughters directly under subject. There's no special grouping here, so Homer is just as close to Bart as it is to Chase. Next, grammar B gives us tree 2. Here, the subject Homer is separate, but chased and barred are grouped together as a verb phrase or VP. This means that grammar B treats chased barred as one single constituent rather than two independent elements. So which tree is better? If we think about how people naturally pause when speaking, most people say Homer chased barred. It feels less natural to say Homer chased barred. This shows that chased barred is a closer unit, so grammar B's tree looks more realistic. In conclusion, grammar A and grammar B are weakly equivalent. They produce the same sentences. However, grammar B provides a stronger and more convincing structure because it matches natural pauses and internal grouping in speech.
I will talk about Grammar as Science, Unit 7, Constituency and Constituency Test. In this part, we compare two grammars, Grammar A and Grammar B, and see how they deal with conjunctions. At first, Grammar A looks simpler because it has fewer rules, but actually, Grammar B is more powerful because it introduces VP, verb phrase. This means the verb and its object are grouped as one unit. This grouping is called constituency. In Grammar A, there is no VP, so to cover predicate conjunctions, Grammar A must add at least 12 new rules. This makes Grammar A very complicated when extended. In Grammar B, constituency solves the problem. According to the text, Grammar B only needs 3 rules called Proposal B. With these 3 rules, Grammar B can cover all predicate conjunctions. Conjunctions can continue without limit. For example, Maggie sleeps and crawls and runs and jumps. This is possible thanks to recursion. Grammar B captures this unbounded process with its VP structure. So to sum up, constituency and recursion make Grammar B more scientific and efficient.
Now, let's summarize what we have learned in this unit, Grammar as Science. First, let's look at the relations between grammars. If two grammars generate exactly the same set of sentences, we call them weakly equivalent. But if they generate not only the same sentences, but also the same tree diagrams, then they are strongly equivalent. Second, when we compare equivalent grammars, we need to think about 2 criteria. First, simplicity, which grammar has fewer rules. Second, ease of extension, which grammar is easier to extend when we add new structures. Here comes the crash between the two. According to simplicity, grammar A looks better, but according to ease of extension, grammar B works better. Third, let's consider grouping and tree diagrams. Grammar A treats N, V, N as equal daughter knots, so Bart and Homer seems equally distant from the verb. Grammar B, however, groups the element differently, making Bart closer to the verb than Homer. This grouping shows a more accurate structure. As a result, Grammar B is better than Grammar A. Why? Because Grammar B has a simple rule, VP to VN, which captures the structure of sentences more clearly and efficiently. Finally, we need to talk about the recursive rule. Only through recursion can we generate an unlimited number of sentences, such as endless conjunctions. This shows that with a finite set of rules, grammar can produce an infinite number of sentences. So, to wrap up, Grammar as Science helps us see that grammar is not just about memorizing rules. It is about understanding how different grammars work, comparing them scientifically, and explaining why certain structures are more effective. Thank you for the listening.